Thirsty for action? Let's crack open the Sunday six-pack.
All right, Stuckey opened up a nice 9-point lead, 64-55 with the you hit your both 2-pointers, your 1-pointer in the six-pack, you hit your total, and that gives you a bonus point. So you got 7 last week. I only got 2 with the Vikings.
I know sweat Panthers over. I should have got paid double for that.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that was probably your best play of the week. Like that was about to go over in the first half alone. I mean, it was nuts. And of course, more Packers receivers got hurt in the middle of it. Yeah. But all right. So I got a stage a little comeback here for my first pick in the first overall of the week 17 New Year's six-pack, going with the Raiders plus 3.5 at the Indianapolis Colts. And when you're betting this late in the year, you got to look at, okay, what is the market kind of not taking into account here? Obviously, we know that Jonathan Taylor's back from the Colts. That's good. Pittman's still in protocol. I don't know if he's gonna play this week. I know he had a shoulder and he's still in protocol, which is somewhat concerning. So didn't practice Wednesday. So that's something to monitor. But I think what's really being a little bit underrated here is the Raider defense. Now, obviously, saw them come up big against the Chiefs with some turnovers, but and against the Chargers with some turnovers as well. But as you like to point out, Stuck, you got to kind of filter out turnovers when you want to get a better picture of just how well defenses are playing sometimes. So when you filter out turnovers, since Antonio Pierce took over in week 9, the Raiders defense is second in EPA per play allowed, 10th in EPA per dropback allowed, first in EPA per rush allowed. So that bodes very well facing a Colts team that they need to run the ball. Gardner Minshew is a turnover waiting to happen. He's a disaster waiting to happen. He's gotten pretty lucky this year. We saw it start to run out against the Falcons last week, and we've seen this in spots, but Gardner Minshew has kind of played above his head this year. So, the fact that the Raiders have been a lot better against the run, because their season-long numbers are not good, but they've been a lot better against the run. I think that's really helpful in this matchup. And, on the other side of the ball, this Colts defense really doesn't have a ton that worries you. Corners are kind of shaky, and especially the perimeter corners. You got Kenny Moore in the slot, but when you're facing the Raiders, I mean, Renfro's not really been the same kind of guy this year. Even he's been a little better with Pierce, but you got Adams and you got Myers playing well on the outside. Aiden O'Connell, not great either, but I don't think he's much worse than Minshew, if at all. So I'm getting the hook here. I think the Raiders are a live dog in this spot. You look at the weighted total DVOA, which weights the more recent games a little bit more, and the Raiders are 15th. The Colts are 22nd. So Raiders have been the better team, and even though the Colts have the better record and have some had that early season kind of swoon, and I do like Steichen, but I also like Pierce. I like the way the Raiders D is playing. I don't think there should be 3 and the hook here. So give me Vegas plus 3.5 at Indy.
Yeah, I mean, this Colts team's a fraud. We saw it last week. They were getting very lucky in one possession games. Minshew's been getting lucky. They've been getting lucky on defense with takeaways. There's a number of statistics I can go through that just screamed regression is coming for this team. And yeah, Raiders got a little magic going. They win out, Chiefs lose out, Raiders win the division. I doubt that'll happen, but
Jack Jones has been a difference maker for the Raiders.
He's been huge, replacing Peters. And yeah, they're playing really well now. You just have to hope that O'Connell completes a pass. I don't think I've ever seen a game where a team went on the road where the quarterback was 0 of 10 for 0 yards over the final 3 quarters against Mahomes with 4 kneel downs. He had 4 kneel downs, no completions over the final 3 quarters. But yeah, with the hook here, it's Raiders or nothing. Colts have some injuries too, like Moss, even Taylor with his thumb.
Pittman.
We'll see if Pittman gets cleared. And yeah, the defense on the back end. Yeah, O'Connell should be able to hit some throws to his receivers this week, and Minshew has a couple mistakes coming his way. So yeah, I like it. All right, for my first pick of the New Year's weekend 6-pack, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills -12 at home against the New England Patriots. Might as well just
all right. Let's just move on. You won. Next.
Put the streak on the line here with the Bills. I'm not one to want to lay double digits generally in the NFL. I mean, double digit division favorites are just 45% over a sample of close to 300 games over the past 20 years. But this is the spot, I think. Bills had a brutal stretch, went out to LA. I love the Chargers in the spot, and the Bills somehow escaped. Now you come home, got an extra day of rest prep, refocus spot, revenge spot. They lost to the Patriots in embarrassing fashion early this season. And I think Hyde should be back. And guess who was a full participant today? And this is really good news for the Bills playoff runs. Daquan Jones, full participant, massive addition in the middle. The Patriots offensive line has injuries and issues right now. I don't know if Stevens isn't going to play, which means they can't run it, which is going to lead to Zappe mistakes. Zappe played better last week, but he's 46 out of 48 quarterbacks in adjusted EPA per play. Minimum 100 dropbacks, ahead of only Trevor Siemian and DTR. So I like the Bills here. When they win, they generally win big at home, and Patriots are just overmatched here. I see a couple of Zappe mistakes. I see the Bills coming out here and just letting Allen rip, because you're not really going to be able to run the ball. So I think that leads to more of an open game and get you more of a game script where you can blow out the Patriots. But I like this spot. I like Jones back. I think Hyde will be back. This defense is trending in the right direction, and I love this spot for the Bills. So I'm laying 12 at home. I think they come out focused early, and then if they build a lead for the Patriots, it's done. The Patriots just aren't going to be able to come back in this game. So putting the record on the line, give me the Bills -12 in Western New York.
Yeah, I mean, I'll trust you. I have no feel on this one. I wouldn't normally look at a 12-point favorite, but you've been red hot with the Bills. You've had a good feel for, when to buy, when to sell. Now you're jumping back on. And I mean, the Patriots are one of the worst teams in the league, so could easily see the Bills winning by a couple touchdowns. So don't hate it. And wishing you good luck to increase your streak to what? Would that be 12-0 if you hit it?
12-0.
Yeah. Woo. Better. Maybe you need to start being a Bills fan. Forget the Ravens. Just I'm
a fan of both this year. I got
there you go
50-1 on the Bills to win the Super Bowl. So I'm trying, for those that followed those both futures, the goal is so the Ravens can help themselves out, help me out, and anyone who followed multiple ways. So if they beat the Dolphins, they lock up the 1 seed, and which is huge. Obviously, you get a bye, home field advantage. And then that sets up the Bills, assuming they beat the Patriots. If the Bills then beat the Dolphins in week 18, the Bills win the division and clinch the 2 seed in the AFC, which means the Ravens couldn't play the Bills until the AFC Championship, which is ultimately what I want. Now, say the Ravens lose to the Dolphins, or the Bills lose to the Dolphins, then the Dolphins win the division. The Dolphins get the 2. There's a chance that, and by the way, if the Bills get the 2, they're most likely would maybe based on probability would most likely host the Colts. So I would love that too. But if the Dolphins get the 2, there's a pretty good chance that the Bills get in with the 7. which means no matter what, if they win on wild card weekend, then the Ravens would play them in the divisional round, which would suck. So, yeah, I am obviously always an enormous Ravens fan, but for multiple reasons, for their 1 seed, for the Bills' chances to win the division. It's just a massive game that we'll talk about later. But yeah, let's run it back with the Bills. That was I think they'll come out focused here. That was I just had a feeling that game was going to come down to the fourth quarter. They were going to be sleepy as hell. I think they get refocused here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fascinating to watch. I mean, you're talking about a team that was one of the pass heaviest teams in the league, finding a way to do it, running the football. I mean, Stephon Diggs is like, he's playing on like 80% of the pass snaps. He's not really producing. And I mean, so far, so good. But at some point, you figure they're going to get him back involved. So they got a lot of upside.
It would be pretty crazy though, just with Ravens beating Dolphins as favorites, Bills beat Patriots as favorites, and the Bills beat the Dolphins in a coin flip. The Bills would have went from 10% playoff odds like 5 weeks ago to the 2 seed in the AFC. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills and the Chiefs just kind of went in opposite trajectories at the exact same time.
All because of the offsides changed so much in the AFC playoff picture. Just a crazy play that maybe gets the Bills in the playoffs, maybe gets them the division. So where are you going for your second pick?
Let's run it back. Steelers plus 3.5 at Seattle. I look at this game and I'm not going to sit here and give you a ton of matchup edges for the Steelers or anything like that. They are the better team in terms of DVOA and weighted DVOA, which weights, recent games more heavily. They're 11th, Seattle 17th. Defense, Pittsburgh is 7th, Seattle's 24th. Well, I already talked about this last week, but Rudolph is an upgrade on Pickett and Trubisky. If you look at adjusted net yards per attempt as a Steeler, Trubisky 4.9, Pickett 5.0, Rudolph 5.5. Seattle, something's off with them. Even when these wins, which, credit to them for getting a couple of, 3-point wins back to back and getting their season back on track, but they've held below 300 yards of total offense in 5 of their last 8 games. For comparison, everyone always talks about Pittsburgh can't move the ball and whatnot. Pittsburgh's only been held under 300 yards in 3 of its last 8 games. I think, both of these teams it could be a letdown spot for either team really, but I'll take the points with Pittsburgh here. Tomlin as a dog, 64%, 56, 31, and 3 against the spread. Pete Carroll, when Seattle was favored coming off of a win, 20 and 31 against the spread, 39%. And we know Tomlin, when they play teams with equal or better records, 39, 16 and 1, 71%. Pittsburgh obviously dealing with injuries at safety and linebacker. Seattle doesn't throw over the middle though. So that's not going to hurt Pittsburgh as much as it would against some, certain other matchups. And I did like what I saw of Rudolph. Obviously Cincinnati is not a good defense, so take it with a grain of salt. But just the fact that he's given George Pickens a chance, I think unlocks, more of their offense. And, hopefully you can also get Freiermuth going. So I think this Pittsburgh offense will be all right here. Again, Seattle, bottom 8 in DVOA on defense and trending down. They're actually 26th in weighted DVOA. So, they're benching cornerbacks and things like that. So I think Pittsburgh has a shot here. I'm getting the hook. So I like Pittsburgh's odds. Probably ends in a Seattle 3-point win. So give me the Steelers plus 3.5 in Seattle.
Yeah, Rudolph made some good throws last week. I always am a little just concerned because you just see that with backups. Like when does the expiration hit? Is it 2-3 weeks? Because we kind of know who Rudolph is. But I talked about this last week. Like Rudolph's career adjusted EPA per play, like better than Pickett's. It's right there with that. I didn't have any drop off. And then he's actually playing with confidence, whereas Trubisky had lost it. Bortles had just he lost the plot. So yeah, Witherspoon might be back for Seattle. He was in practice today, which will help them. But yeah, I'm taking the hook here is the only way that I would go, but I don't have a strong feel. Although it's science, either the Ravens beat the Dolphins and then sit everyone, or the Steelers win this game because Tomlin has to finish over 500. All right. For my second pick in the 4th overall, the New Year's weekend 6-pack, I'm going also back to the Atlanta Falcons +3 at the Chicago Bears. This is a Bears team that I've liked over the past month or so. I finally started playing them, but that's when they were, underdogs. And now this is a different role for them. I know they covered last week against the Cardinals, but asking the Bears to win by margin with everything that's going on, I have to take the Falcons here. I make this line like 1. I think the Falcons are still a little undervalued. People hate the Falcons. People hate Arthur Smith, and there's good reasons for that sentiment. But they've also been super unlucky. Like, this is a team before last week. They were 1-5 over the past 2 months in games decided by 5 or less. 4 of those came in the final seconds. And that's with Desmond Ridder basically handing teams the game with just mind-numbing turnovers. Heineke, for what it's worth, 15th in adjusted EPA per play this year, plus 0.104. Ritter's 31st, negative 0.028. I do think it's an upgrade. Heineke can also, he's just more, he makes some risky throws too, but he doesn't make I've never seen a quarterback make some of the throws that Ridder makes when he just hands the other team the ball. The Carolina one is as bad as it gets.
That was this. I would say in the last 2 years, the Falcons probably have the worst interception, which is that Ridder one. And they also have the worst throw, period, which was the Mariota falling down on his ass and just launch. So, I mean, the only one I would say comes close is that Mac Jones throw when he had the tight end wide open against the Colts.
Yes.
Like it's either one of those two is the worst interception. I go back and forth because I think the Jones one was worse in the sense that like he literally had a guy wide open in the end zone, whereas Ridder, but then Ridder didn't even have a guy open and just threw it to the other side. I don't know which is worse, but yeah. Sorry, I digress.
No, it was crazy. So, and then when I look at this, and by the way, all 16, this will be the 16th Falcons game with a spread of 3.5 or less. First time in NFL history that's happened. Ridiculous. Every single one of their games is just a field goal spread. And all their games besides last week when they blew up the fraud Colts, all their games it ends 1 or 2 somehow. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to take the money line, don't, because the Falcons find ways to lose games by 1 or 2 all the time. But look, the Bears, I just think that this is the peak of the market on the Bears. For what it's worth, Bears fans, if you win out, and there's a couple of things that have to happen, but if you win out, and the Rams and Seahawks lose out, there's a chance you can get in the playoffs somehow. You need a couple other things to happen, but that's your starting point, which is very unlikely. But the Bears, I think, peak of the market now. Here are their 6 wins this year. The Vikings with Dobbs, the Cardinals, outdoor pumpkin golf, the Panthers, the Raiders with Hoyer, and the Commanders. Like, that's as bad as it gets. I mean, those 6 wins are worth nothing to me. So they have been playing better. Montez Sweat adds another dynamic to their defense. Their offense has also been playing a bit better, but you can't run on Atlanta. Onyemata's back. And by the way, their offensive line, I think McGarry should be back. They got Lindstrom back. They were missing a number of their most important trench players in Carolina in that loss. But the Bears, Tevin Jenkins got banged up. Cole Kmet got banged up. And DJ Moore, I doubt I don't know if he's going to play. He probably will try to play, but he's not going to be at 100% with his ankle injury. So you're not going to be able to run at Atlanta. That's the strength of their D. And then you have Fields, offensive line injuries. 2 of your best weapons are banged up. So I think that plays into Atlanta's hands. I don't think that the Bears should be a field goal favorite here. I'll take the Falcons here, catching a field goal on the road. And the worst part about this is I actually think they find a way to win this game, and they still do have a chance to win the division, but they would need the Bucs to lose out, and then they play at the Panthers, which isn't impossible. But if they just would have beat the Panthers in that throw, be in prime position. But I like the Falcons +3. I don't think this should be a field goal.
Yeah, I'm always behind fading the Bears as favorites. I mean, they like you said, they have been playing better. That sweat trade has worked out well. You know, Fields is surviving in there, but this team still kind of finds ways more often than not to lose games. Fields is 4-10 against the spread as a favorite or as a dog by 3 or less. So usually the time to bet the Bears is when, you know, they're the bigger underdogs but at least by more than a field goal. Definitely not as a favorite. So don't hate it at all. All right, for my third pick, the 5th overall of the New Year's weekend 6-pack, going with the Los Angeles Chargers +3 at the Denver Broncos. Like what I saw of the Chargers last week. I thought they did some, you know, switch some things up on defense. They got more input from the players, and I think guys just played better. I think I like what they did with taking Derwin James out of coverage some, you know, where he was just getting torched. And now, you know, Jarrett Stidham, I actually don't think he's a massive downgrade, believe it or not, from Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson was not playing well. But this is also his first game with the Broncos, and the only guy who's really been showing up lately for Denver offensively is Courtland Sutton, and he's in the concussion protocol. And you know, Jerry Jeudy struggles against man coverage. Chargers can still play that. You know, tight. I mean, they're playing Lucas Kroll and Troutman at tight end. Javonte Williams has hit a wall. You know, probably too much of a workload. McLaughlin's been solid, but they're still using that 3-back rotation. Chargers have been better against the run lately as well. And then Denver's defense, you know, they had that Miami game and then it looked like they improved, but as you pointed out, it was a lot to do with just getting turnovers. And when they don't get turnovers, it's a problem. We know turnovers kind of are somewhat random, so I don't expect, you know, the way Easton Stick played against really these last 2 weeks, if he could just play like that, I think the Chargers can win this game in Denver, especially if Courtland Sutton misses. I just don't think that running game is playing well. Denver's now dead last in DVOA against the run. So I think, you know, Eckler can have some success. Doubt you'll get Keenan Allen back, but that would be a bonus as well. You do have Joshua Palmer back. Everett's playing well. And I like the way Stick is playing as well. So, yeah, I think the Chargers are another one of these live dogs here. I got it at 4.5, full disclosure. Mad at myself for not just taking the 5.5. I waited, and then I figured Russell Wilson was going to get benched. But either way, I think this is another spot where the Chargers show up. They look rejuvenated against Buffalo. They looked like, you know, even though their season's kind of shot, they just couldn't wait to get over Staley. I mean, it was just night and day. And now you have kind of another letdown spot for the Broncos, because with that Patriots loss, not like it's demoralizing, but now you're kind of playoff hopes are kind of shot. Benched your quarterback. So maybe you get the only thing I'm scared of is, you know, maybe everyone just hated Russ so much that you get that same kind of bump if you're the Broncos. But I just don't think there's much difference between these two teams at this point. And I think the Chargers are trending up and the Broncos are trending down. So give me the Chargers +3 for what it's worth. Road underdogs with an average point differential over their last 3 games of -18 or more, which the Chargers have because of that big blowout to the Raiders, lost to the Raiders. Those teams have gone 61-31, 66% against the spread over the last 2 decades. So LA +3.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't have a strong feel, but that's the side that I would lean towards, and I'll be rooting for them because I have Denver under 8.5 wins. For my third pick and the 6th overall of the New Year's weekend 6-pack, I'm going reluctantly back to the New Orleans Saints +3 at the Tampa Bay Bucks. This is, I don't have much separating these two teams. Baker Mayfield's played pretty well of late, but he's also putting the ball in harm's way and getting away with it. He's got 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, but 21 big time throws, 19 turnover worthy plays. He's been getting a bit fortunate. The whole Bucs team, if we look at our luck rankings, by the way, which whenever there's huge gaps in luck rankings, I mean, the betting on the team that has the massive negative discrepancy has been a cash cow, and the Saints have been one of the unluckiest teams in the NFL. The Bucs, one of the luckiest. Couple stats to point that out. I mean, the Bucs can't efficiently run the ball. They're bad on early downs. I mean, they're 23rd in EPA per play on early downs, but 12th overall. Early downs much more predictive of future success. They have 18 fumbles on the year. They've only lost 6. They've been so lucky on 4th downs. Their red zone defense has overperformed. They've won 4 straight. I think this is the top of the market on them. Baker Mayfield is a favorite for what it's worth. 13-25 against the spread, 34%, failing to cover by a field goal per game. Among 220 quarterbacks who have been lined as chalk in at least one game over the past 2 decades, he's the 5th least profitable as a favorite. So I think this Bucs team has overperformed a bit. I think Mayfield has some aggression coming. I get a lot of Colts vibes with the Bucs. And you should get the Saints' best effort here. They need to win this game. The Bucs kind of, they know that they can just beat the Panthers for the division. But I just don't have much separating these teams. It's a divisional game. Home field is negligible. So I'm going to take the field goal here in the divisional game, which should be a close game. The Mayfield regression is coming. And the Bucs just as a team have been extremely fortunate. Saints are on the other end of that spectrum. Carr has been so hit or miss. Like he's had sometimes he'll look good in this new offense, and sometimes he'll look completely lost. Hopefully you get Ramczyk back, but and hopefully you just get good Carr. But I think that this line should be like 1.5, not 3. So I'll take the Saints road divisional dog here in the game that could decide the division.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs have been a pleasant surprise. This is the time you fade them, though, when they are favorites. They, as you mentioned, Baker and Todd Bowles is a favorite of a field goal or more, is just 6-14-2 against the spread, just 30%. So this is the spot. I was surprised that you picked the Saints first in our draft because you knew I wasn't going to take them. So, yeah, this is a Saints spot. I'm not going to touch it just because I just hate the Saints. I mean, like they were the right play last week too. And of course, where they go down like 3 scores before they woke up. But I do like the fact that Rashid Shaheed is now playing like 90% of the snaps. I think, he gives them that explosive element because it seems like they're all checked down or, deep, low percentage downfield throws. So at least with Shaheed, you got a chance to hit more of them. Carlton Davis is on the injury report. He might not go. Bucs defense has just been, some of the numbers schedule adjusted are a little better than the raw numbers, but this defense is exploitable. When you got Shaheed, you got Olave, you got Kamara. So I think the Saints have enough to win this game. What we really need is we need some bounty gate. So if we can knock Mayfield out, and then we never wish that anyone. I'm just joking, obviously. But if we can knock Mayfield out, then maybe the Panthers versus Kyle Trask, and maybe we get our Falcons future back.
I don't know. Look, if Bucs need to win, you see it every year. I'll talk about this next week. The teams that need to win,
that's true.
Playing corpses. You see every year 1 or 2 will lose. Yep. Divisional road game. It'll be the Panthers Super Bowl. I'll probably be on the Panthers that game, depending on where the line is. But I could see the Panthers winning that game. But yes, obviously it'd be much easier with Trask. But what will happen is, because the Saints play the Falcons. What will happen is the Bucs lose, and then the Falcons lose on a last-second touchdown, and the Saints get in the playoffs.
Like Heineke will get knocked out. Ritter will come back in, and the one handoff he did, the one time they don't call a handoff, he'll throw a pick or just fumble the ball over the goal line for a touchback, something stupid like that. Oh man,
NFC South, it's a special place.
I'm not gonna lie though, I am enjoying this season. Like I know a lot of people, like maybe the more casual fans, are saying like, hey, it's so many backup quarterbacks started, so many, no real like, dominant teams. But I kind of enjoy this, it's kind of up for grabs. You're going to see some weirdness happen these last 2 weeks, and even into the first, maybe even the second round of players, you're going to see some really weird things. I always love that for an NFL season. So not mad at it. All right, that's going to do it for the New Year's weekend 6-pack here on the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. To recap, Stuck went Buffalo -12 against New England, Atlanta +3 at the Bears, and the Saints +3 at the Bucks. I went with the Raiders +3.5 at the Colts, the Steelers +3.5 at the Seahawks, and the Chargers +3 at the Denver Broncos. See if you could get the hook. That's going to wrap up our New Year's weekend 6-pack.